Ariana lies on the floor at night, with blood gushing from her, and thinks about when everything started. Elena walks closer and covers her mouth while shouting that she was about to run someone over. She says if her sister dies, there will be no one to make the songs she plans to sing in the future. Edward answers that they cannot ignore the matter because Ariana wanted to report them. As blood keeps flowing, she thinks about her younger sister and brother while listening to their talk. Lucas then walks in and asks who is there. She keeps thinking about even her husband. He looks at her and apologizes to Ariana because he once loved her, even though she was dull and boring. He says another woman with a face like hers now acts sweet toward him, and he blames her sister for being rich. He holds Elena in his arms while she touches her pregnant stomach and tells her sister that she is carrying her brother-in-law's child. Ariana thinks about how the people she trusted are now standing against her. That betrayal hurts more than anything. Edward bends down and asks if she is okay because she is losing a lot of blood. He holds an agreement paper and says the blood will help seal it. She lifts her weak hand and presses her bloody finger onto the paper. He thanks her and says he will use her wealth well. She thinks about how cruelly everyone betrayed her. He then says he will play the song she made at her funeral. Ariana wishes for one more chance before she dies. She closes her eyes and falls into darkness. Suddenly, she opens them again in shock as a plate drops from her hands. Sophie quickly rushes over and asks if she is fine while picking up the fallen food. She says she should have handled the work herself. Ariana asks what is happening, and the maid explains that the Marquis of Pettigrew requested tea and had refreshments prepared. She asks if they mean her husband, and the servant happily says the wedding has not happened yet, and he is waiting in the garden. Ariana thinks about how she has already been married to Lucas for 5 years and remembers dying after betrayal. As she walks outside, she wonders if she is dreaming or seeing a final hallucination. She then hears Elena and Lucas talking. She says she is upset because her sister's wedding date with her sister is set. He tells her not to think that way because soon they will live under the same roof. Ariana overhears the talk and wonders if this is a dream or not. She realizes that Lucas and Elena started their relationship before the wedding and keeps asking herself how long the lie has lasted. Just then, Edward appears and calls out to her. She answers by calling him brother. He tells her to come to his room after tea time and reminds her about today's lesson. She thinks about how the Lopez family is famous for music, yet her brother never received the talent and still interfered by claiming he could improve the songs she created. While she keeps thinking, he asks why she is not answering. She remembers how many songs he stole from her while her younger sister performed them at the Lopez Opera House, built by their grandfather. Even though she lived only for them, she suddenly asks what year, month, and day it is. He answers that it is November 27th, year 325. She realizes it is exactly 5 years before the day she died. She sees this as a chance to protect her music and take revenge. Then she smiles and says she has a new musical idea and asks if he wants to hear it. In her mind, she decides she will pull them all into darkness. Ariana later sits in a room and begins to play the piano. Edward says he expects nothing special because she knows little about music. She thinks she has heard those same words too many times. She smiles and agrees that compared to him, she is ignorant. He feels pleased and says that understanding her place may be her only good trait. He tells her to hurry and play. While touching the keyboard, she wonders what kind of music she created at that time and asks herself if she can truly take cruel revenge on the family she loved. As she plays, everyone in the house hears the sound and enjoys it. He becomes shocked by the music. Sophie walks over and praises the performance. Then Lucas and Elena arrive. He asks what that performance was. She notices the mud on his leg and smiles at him while thinking he is disgusting. She explains that the piece is an improvisation. Her sister says the song is wonderful and thinks it suits her voice. She then complains that the range is too low to show her full skill. Ariana answers that it is a pity because she already has the perfect title. When asked for the name, she smiles and calls it The Aria of the Adulterous Woman. That title says everything without saying too much. Elena asks what kind of title Ariana has chosen and says it sounds too vulgar. She asks if she truly thinks so, and she agrees. Ariana says she thought her sister already understood. When asked what she means, she explains that a vulgar title makes it stronger because affairs have always caught people's attention throughout history. She still questions how such a strange name could exist. Edward then says it is not a bad idea. Elena calls out to her brother, but he asks what is wrong and says Ariana is right because the title will create attention. She argues that the title is too strange, but he suggests giving it a try. Ariana then says no one else could sing this aria except her sister. She becomes speechless and starts to stammer. Before she can finish, Ariana asks if she can go upstairs and begin working right away because she feels she can remember the whole piece from beginning to end. He asks if she truly remembers everything and says he will refine it after she finishes composing. Lucas becomes pleased and tells her she can lead the opera from start to finish. She smiles and agrees to do her best. In her mind, she promises she will never let them steal her music again. Elena asks Lucas if he truly plans to stage an opera with such shocking content. He explains that the performance is important because Dante Heigenberg has returned to the capital. Another grand show will happen at Paradise, so they must not lose sight of it. Ariana hears the name and wonders if Dante could help her. She asks if he is truly returning. Lucas confirms it and says he came back after much bloodshed and had just killed barbarians. Elena reacts in shock. He pats her head and says she should stay away from such a man. She says rumors claim he spends every night with female singers. Ariana then thinks about Paradise. She knows it is a cabaret where common people drink and enjoy shows, while the Lopez Opera House serves noblemen. Paradise is known as a sanctuary for the fallen, and Dante Heigenberg owns it. He is also a feared war hero. She remembers a past meeting where he asked why she wasted her talent on people who did not value her. He told her to stop being foolish and come to him because he might treasure her like a jewel. She realizes he was the only person who noticed her family used her music. She decides she must meet him. Later, she arrives at Paradise and thinks that this place truly is the sanctuary of the fallen. Paul walks up and asks who she is looking for. When she sees him, she realizes he is Heigenberg's assistant. However, Ariana tells Paul that she is the eldest daughter of the Lopez family and asks to meet the Duke. He lowers his head and says, "The Duke does not meet anyone without an appointment." She begs him to give her only 5 minutes and says that if she fails to gain his interest, she will repay him. Later, Dante Heigenberg sits with Paul behind him. He folds his arms and reminds her that she begged for 5 minutes. She politely greets him, and he repeats her words with little interest. She thinks that 5 years ago he would not have known who she was. She explains that she came to offer him something and promises it will take only 5 minutes. He replies that he already has too much and wants nothing from her. She quickly brings out a kalimba and asks him to listen before judging. Before he can finish speaking, she begins to play. The sound fills the room and he becomes shocked by the music. She watches his face and wonders if it is not good enough. Then he suddenly offers 5 billion cardina. Her eyes widen in surprise. He tells her to hand it over with the full score and every part included. She thinks that such a price for one piece of music is unbelievably generous. She thanks him but says that money is not what she wants. Instead, she asks to become his wife. That request changes everything. Dante asks if she is truly offering one song in exchange for marriage. Ariana asks if he has listened to the music from the Lopez Opera House and explains that she created every piece there. He says he believed the Count of Lopez made them all. She tells him that her brother only made small changes while she did the real work. He admits the truth sounds tempting and says she is more interesting than he expected. She explains that she wants to take back her music from her brother, but the Empire's law stops unmarried women from owning property or rights to their own work. He quickly understands that she wants him to become her legal shield, so her music cannot be taken. She agrees and asks him to marry her for 1 year until she finds a way to protect her work and finish her revenge. She promises to become the exclusive composer for Paradise. He smiles and says the place of his wife is worth more than 5 billion cardina. She tells him he can use her as a reason to reject a princess's proposal. She promises not to ask anything from him or expect marriage duties. He warns her not to hide anything while making a deal. She repeats that she only needs protection and then quietly asks if he can also pretend to truly love her. He laughs and says he likes her courage. She suddenly wonders how he already knows her name. He stands and says he dislikes her final condition because he never pretends. He says even a temporary marriage must feel real. Then he tells her that if she becomes his wife, she must act like it fully and asks if she can handle that. Then Dante tells Ariana that if she cannot do it, she should just run away. She looks at him and thinks that he is trying to scare her, but she cannot back down now. She tells him that it is fine and she can handle it. He smiles and pulls her closer by the waist. He tells her to relax. He leans close and says that acting like prey about to be eaten is not attractive. She opens her eyes wide and says she is not nervous. He lets her go and says she has courage. Then he turns to leave and says they will discuss the details soon. She feels surprised. As he walks through the door, Paul asks why he pretends not to know her and if he also wants to watch the opera. He tells him to stay quiet and says he will watch it since he has time. Paul sighs and thinks about the 2-hour performance. Then he remembers how he first met her. He wonders if she is pretending not to know him or if she truly forgot him. He thinks he cannot tell which one is worse. Later that night, Ariana stands alone and sighs. She thinks that one meeting with him already drains all her energy, and now she has been chosen to become his wife. She wonders if it is a good choice. She reminds herself that he is the person Lucas envies the most, and the same person Elena wants the most. Because of that, she believes he is the one she needs right now. She remembers how close they were when he pulled her near and admits that she was truly nervous. She thinks that without knowing that secret, she would have been even more afraid. As she walks up the stairs, she meets Sophie. She notices she is back and hears that the Marquise has arrived. She asks since when, and learns he has been in the drawing room for about 2 hours. She wonders what he could be doing in a house without his fiancée. Then she says she will change her outfit and come downstairs soon. While heading to her room, she runs into Elena and Nora walking toward her. They both seem happy. Then the maid asks if she is receiving another gift. Elena smiles and says that he prepared a surprise for her. She says he even made jewels from pearls. When Ariana hears about the pearls, she feels surprised. Then she notices her and asks where she went because the outing took so long that the Marquis almost wasted his time. She says not to worry because she entertained him well enough. She smiles, thanks her, and warns her to be careful next time. That leaves her confused, so she asks what she should be careful about. She explains that when an unmarried woman spends too much time with her sister's fiancé, rumors may begin. She smiles and says they are only spending time together as a family. She asks why she is acting this way and reminds her that he values her talent like a precious gem. She says nobody understands her artistic world as he does, so even if it makes her uncomfortable, she should understand. She thinks that she has always spoken like this, as if they share a special bond that nobody else can understand. She feels it is not only about a man and woman, but something she calls an artistic connection. Then she asks if she has memorized the tempo marking yet. She looks shocked and asks what she means. She replies that it is already a miracle she even memorized musical notes. She becomes angry and says she seems to be in a bad mood today. Then she says she will go downstairs first and tells her to take her time getting ready or rest before coming down. She smiles and thinks that she is an idiot who does not know what is really happening. Inside her room, Ariana closes the door behind her. As she walks in, she notices strands of hair. She picks one up, smiles, and says it is really amazing. After changing clothes, she walks to where Lucas and Elena are together. They seem to enjoy themselves. He says she may have sung the pitch wrong. She replies that he should stop teasing her and asks if it is true. Then she walks closer and calls him my Marquis. He looks at her, stands up, and asks why she is late because he has been waiting. She tells him she has good news and asks him to guess what it is. She says it seems that her sister has a lover. Then she brings out the strand of hair, leaving both of them shocked. She says she found it in the dressing room and adds that it has the same color as her hair. That reveals changes everything. Ariana questions Lucas and asks if the hair is really his, wondering if he entered her dressing room. He quickly admits that he did because he became bored while waiting and decided to look through his fiancé's wardrobe. She seems surprised and asks why he would do that, but he explains that he wants to know more about the woman he will soon marry. He says that since the wedding is coming soon, he wants to buy her a pretty dress and even jewelry. She stays calm and thinks to herself that his words are clearly meant to attract her. Even so, she smiles, moves closer, and asks if he truly means it. He answers that as the future Marchioness, she deserves such gifts. Just then, Willem arrives and reports that a jeweler from Pierre has come. She turns in surprise and asks if he has already called a jeweler for her, and he confirms that he did. She happily says she is pleased, while Elena quietly becomes upset. Soon, they sit together as the jeweler presents the items and explains that the initials requested have been engraved. Seeing them, she thinks the initials look perfect and thanks him warmly, saying she feels deeply touched. He watches her smile and quietly thinks that her bright expression makes her look much more beautiful. He then says he prepared everything carefully and feels happy seeing her reaction. She then notices extra pieces beside the necklace and asks about them. The jeweler explains that they are matching earrings and a bracelet that usually come as a set. She praises them and says they are beautiful, making him happy that she noticed their value. She then thanks her future husband for the full set, but he becomes uncomfortable and says she should only choose one as a sign of his sincerity. At the same time, he secretly worries about the cost. Unable to stay longer, Elena suddenly stands up and says she needs to practice singing before leaving in anger. He watches her go and thinks about how difficult it is to please both women, deciding he can simply buy another necklace later. As the day continues, Ariana sits alone and cleans the jewelry while thinking about how strange it feels to own such luxury. She remembers that even as the Marchioness of Pettigrew, getting money for basic needs was difficult because opening his wallet was never easy. She then calls Willem and asks how much everything could sell for, and he estimates it may be worth around 15 million cardina. However, our girl quietly tells Willem to sell all the jewelry given by the Marquis. He becomes shocked by her request, but she explains that it must remain a secret for now that she has sold everything. She then asks him to find a good information guild. Another day arrives, and Leo stands inside a shop saying the owner is away and the place is not open. He suddenly notices her walking in and quickly hides his face while thinking that he never expected to meet her there. She explains that she came to make a request, and he seems surprised that she still entered despite the shop being closed. After hearing his voice, she quietly wonders why it sounds higher than before. He asks her to sit down and introduces himself as Lionard, claiming to be the owner of the guild. At the same time, he thinks to himself that the York Information Guild belongs to the Heigenberg family, and that hiding his true identity is better. He then asks what kind of request she has, and she explains that she wants proof of her cheating fiancé's affair. He reacts with surprise when hearing that her fiancé is involved with her younger sister. She calmly explains that she plans to catch them and end the engagement. Seeing his shocked face, she wonders why he is so surprised, because love triangles are common and often bring business to information guilds. She explains that the pair do not hide their meetings and even spend time together in her dressing room and garden, making them easy to catch. She adds that cameras can be used while thinking about how photography was still new during this time. She reflects that many people fear photographs because of rumors that a soul can become trapped inside a picture. Because of this fear, she believes the affair will not be carefully hidden. She then requests a photograph of them together and asks for it to be completed within a fortnight because she wants to end the engagement and prepare for a new marriage. He suddenly comments that she plans to leave one man and quickly move to another, asking if her future husband must be reliable and perfect. He says that living happily with children would be the best revenge. She immediately replies that such a future is impossible because her new husband cannot have a physical relationship and is impotent. He seems disappointed but promises the request will be finished on time. After she leaves, Leonard enters and asks when he arrived. He answers that he has already accepted a case and will investigate it himself later. Leonard questions why he would handle it personally when he is the head of the York Guild. Just then, Dante appears, surprising him because his presence was not noticed. He then questions why she believes he cannot embrace a woman and wonders why she thinks he is impotent. Wait, what? Leo replies that he does not understand why Lady Lopez would have such a misunderstanding. Dante remembers the expression she had when she claimed she was not nervous, and he thinks about how confident she seemed. He starts to wonder if she believed he was someone she could never touch, and that thought frustrates him deeply. He becomes annoyed and questions how she could think such a thing. Outside, Ariana thinks to herself that she has already placed the bait with their faith, and now it is time to move toward revenge. She reflects on the 3 goals of her outing. The first is visiting the Information Guild. The second is speaking with him about the contract marriage. The third is searching for a suitable soprano. She believes this last goal is the most important because she plans to destroy the Lopez Opera House and her family so completely that they can never rise again. She decides that music will become her weapon of revenge. At the same time, she knows that even the best music means nothing if nobody performs it. She admits that Elena is an excellent soprano, and she remembers that 5 years later, she became the greatest singer in the Empire except for one person. She quietly thinks she may know where that person is. I like how every move she makes already feels part of a bigger plan. Our girl walks down the road and suddenly notices a beautiful crying voice nearby. She becomes confused because even though it is only crying, the sound carries a strong volume and deep resonance. She then remembers that Elena once had a cruel habit of crushing young female singers before they could grow. She recalls how she insulted Rosalind by saying even a passing pigeon could sing better, and mocked her appearance by comparing her hair to a burned Rosalind. Back in the present, she removes her layette and gently gives it to the crying girl, telling her she might catch a cold if she stays outside like that. The child thanks her kindly and promises to repay the favor one day. She then realizes that this is Rosalind at a young age. She quietly studies her and asks what happened and why she is crying. The girl looks troubled and begins to answer with worry. However, Rosalind explains that one day, a chance finally came to her because she dreamed of becoming a singer. She received an offer to perform at Paradise, which belongs to Dante Heigenberg. During that night, she even met the famous soprano, Elena. She remembers how the singer looked at her and the man beside her and asked if they were lovers, while also praising his playing skill, but saying his voice would not suit him well. Even though the words were not kind, she still believes she can prepare carefully for the stage during the time she has left. Then everything suddenly changes when her lover disappears without warning and leaves only a letter saying he has found his true love. Hearing this, Ariana immediately thinks that it must have been Elena's doing. Still crying, the young singer explains that she searched for another musician, but nobody wanted to perform with someone who had no experience. She feels it is unfair and wonders how she could lose such an important chance. Our girl reaches out and asks what time she's allowed to perform at Paradise. Rosalind becomes surprised and suddenly realizes she still does not know who this woman truly is, while quietly admiring her beautiful hair. She quickly answers that her performance time is from 4 to 5 o'clock. After checking the time, she realizes there is not much left before the show begins. She is then told to get up because they must go to the stage immediately. Shocked, she asks what is happening, and she is told to warm up her voice while the rest will be handled for her. She becomes confused and asks what that means, only to hear that Ariana will accompany her while she sings. She reacts with excitement but worries because the chosen song about possession is known to be very difficult. She explains that the accompaniment has many hard parts. Watching her think, she begins to regret mentioning the difficulty because she fears this miracle helper may leave. She even offers to sing an easier song or a simple nursery rhyme if it means standing on stage. Still, she is told they will keep about possession. Ariana quietly remembers that this song was the one that first made the Lopez Opera House successful. She thinks about how the changing keys match rising emotions throughout the piece. When asked again if it is truly fine to perform such a difficult song, she calmly reveals that she composed it herself. In the next scene, Ariana is at Paradise thinking that this is how the place looks at this time. She feels the stage is a complete mess, and she knows it is normal because Paradise is not an official performance venue. Even so, she finds it surprising that this place will shake the Empire 5 years later. She also recalls rumors that Dante Hagenberg never planned to build Paradise for performance, but only cared about music and sound itself. She concludes they cannot perform like this and goes to a worker. The worker asks what she needs, and she says she wants to change the stage. He is surprised and asks if she means the stage. She explains that the stage is too close to the seats, the reflection position is wrong, and the lighting cannot be used properly. She also says it is uncomfortable for both the singer and the audience. While she speaks, other workers talk about her and guess she is the accompanist, while mocking Rosalind's appearance and calling her rustic. Ariana continues giving instructions, and even says that if the level is too bad, they should lower it halfway through. In the next scene, the audience at Paradise talking before the performance. They hear that a new singer named Rosalind is performing today, but they do not know her and think she is just temporary. Standing there, Rosalind thinks to herself that this is her chance to show her song, and she must do her best. She also believes she will succeed with her benefactor. She looks at Ariana, who plays the piano, and she feels the music is special from just one phrase. She becomes focused and thinks she must give everything. She then starts singing about possession, a story about a heroine who falls in love with a priest and feels a strong desire for possession that no jewel or man can replace. She sings with strong emotion, saying she wants that shining person even if the shine fades, asking why they cannot be together. The audience becomes stunned and starts asking who she is, while saying the song is great and the piano sounds like art. However, we see more people gathering to listen as Rosalind continues her performance. She thinks to herself that the crowd is growing, and the next part is very important because it shows the heroine fully embracing her first feverish love. She sings about wanting someone to belong only to her, saying, "If only you could be mine." Suddenly, her voice starts to hurt. She becomes worried and thinks her throat pain may be because she stayed on the cold floor too long. She feels shocked and panicked because the next part is a high note, and she fears her voice will break. Just then, Ariana changes the piano and plays different lines that are not in the song. Rosalind turns in surprise because she realizes this is not in the original music. She understands Ariana is helping her gain time and is amazed by how beautiful the accompaniment sounds. She starts thinking she can improve the performance and decides to push forward for her benefactor. She clears her throat and continues singing, saying she will never regret again, and only she will stay by that person's side. As she finishes, the audience begins clapping loudly, and she smiles happily while Ariana also smiles. The audience begins talking excitedly about the performance. Some say they are intrigued and ask who the singer is, while a woman says her voice is no joke. Others agree and say only someone like Elena Lopez could match that level. Two men discuss the music and say the long interlude stays in their minds even after hearing it. They also wonder who the accompanist is, but no one knows because the face is hidden under a cloak. As Ariana stands up to leave, she hears someone say, "Miss Lopez." Rosalind moves closer and thinks that the person who created about possession must be her benefactor. She happily asks if she is Miss Lopez, and she replies that her name is Ariana Lopez. Just then, Dante Heigenberg arrives and questions if she is a woman, and says she is using his space to promote her singer. She thinks she only wanted to build some reputation before sending gifts to Elena as a soprano. She apologizes for performing without permission, but he holds her face and tells her to use everything from him, because he also plans to use her fully. Everyone watching becomes shocked and confused, asking who he is. He then whispers to her if she is still not afraid. She thinks she might get divorced, but decides this is also a test and says she is not afraid. He looks into her eyes and calls her tough, saying he would punish her insolence, but they are still engaged. He kisses her forehead and says they will see after marriage. I'm really gingered up right now. In another scene, Edward is at a bar gambling. He says he is feeling confident and goes all in. Just then, he hears his name, Edward Lopez. He turns and sees Elias. Elias calls him my lord. Outside the bar, Elias speaks to him and says, tomorrow is the first rehearsal for the St. Verdito Festival Opera, and asks if he should be in a place like this at such a time. Elias also asks if the lord is an investor in the Lopez house. Edward laughs and says it does not matter because he has already completed the position, and now it is up to the performers to execute it. He thinks to himself that Elias is only acting like this because he is an investor. Elias then says he is looking forward to the performance after hearing the interpretation of about possession. Edward becomes surprised and repeats the word interpretation. Elias explains that while the original is good, he felt the flute part near the end was unnecessary, and that it was removed and replaced with a longer interlude. Hearing this, Edward becomes disappointed, lowers his head, and thinks that the part he created was called unnecessary, feeling angry but holding himself back so the opera can still succeed. The next day, Elena is looking at a newspaper in anger. The news says Dante Heigenberg is openly showing affection with a mysterious woman, and it is described as his first public romantic acknowledgement. She becomes angry and asks who this girl is, saying she is not a princess but a shabby-looking woman playing a love game with him. She then remembers how he always attended her performances and how she believed he was there only to see her. She recalls telling maids to invite the Duke to the after-party, believing he would come as her partner, but he ignored her without any response. She also remembers the humiliation of people talking about her partner being the Duke. As her anger grows, Nora comes to her and tells her not to worry, saying the flower of the opera is not the singer but Elena herself. She looks up and asks what she means. and Nora explains that she is reacting because of the article. However, Elena looks at the newspaper again and sees a report saying Rosaline has a successful singing debut. She becomes shocked and calls her an unsophisticated girl. She remembers what she said to Rosaline and her lover and thinks to herself that she tricked the boyfriend into ruining her performance, yet Rosaline still debuted. She feels annoyed and squeezes the paper tightly. I can feel her frustration. In the next scene, our girl is rehearsing with the violin. She asks for it to be played a little louder. Elena watches her from far away and thinks she is very irritating, saying she is not even the main composer, but acts like the main character. She also thinks about how someone like her could become a marchioness, blaming her status and wishing she had a better family background. At the same time, Edward approaches, holding his head. Elena asks him how much he has been drinking, but he tells her to be quiet because she is annoying. Seeing that he is drunk, she thinks about playing a prank and tells him their sister has changed. He asks what she means, and she says Rosalind looked shabby before but is now acting like the main composer. She also says Edward is the one who increased the volume of the performance, yet he is speaking freely, and the members are following her too much. Hearing this, Edward becomes angry and shouts at them. As if that is not enough, we see Ariana continuing the rehearsal with the violin. Suddenly, Edward rushes in and knocks her down, shouting why she is standing there when she knows nothing and why professionals are listening to an amateur. He orders the violinists to start again. They play, but he keeps complaining that the sound is too loud and says he still does not like it. He says to start from the beginning again, and says he will trust only his instincts. He also says the music is useless and fires them, saying the piece does not need so many violins. Just then, he is hit on the head and falls down. Ariana then tells him his voice stands out too much, calling him a loud drunkard. The next scene, a violinist named Robin is playing in the orchestra. We get to know that his hand is hurting while he plays. As he continues, he thinks to himself that he has no money to repay his old house and cannot go to the hospital. He also remembers that the violin is the only old asset left by his mother, who was a fallen noblewoman, so he must keep playing without showing pain. He fears that if Edward finds out, he will be fired. Just then, Edward shouts for them to move and start playing again, so they continue. He becomes angry and says it is still wrong and orders them to start from the beginning again. Robin thinks to himself that this feels like endless suffering and he must endure it, even though his injury might get worse if he keeps playing. He hopes to see a doctor after the performance. Suddenly, Edward shouts that the violin sound is too loud and says they are all fired. Robin becomes shocked and thinks about how he will lose his living money for next month. As he tries to speak, Ariana interrupts by hitting Edward on the head. Ariana says this endless rehearsal must stop. She adds that her brother forgets everything when he is drunk, so the firing should be ignored. She then tells Robin to give her his hand. He becomes surprised and asks why. She tells him his hand is injured and says she can hear it from the shaking violin sound. She advises him to go to the hospital and says it will heal in a few days if treated, giving him money. Robin thanks her. She then looks at the other violinists and thinks to herself that everyone is exhausted and that Edward treats them harshly like a tyrant, making them afraid to speak about their pain or risk being fired. She feels it is unacceptable and cannot tolerate it anymore. Ariana then asks if they are satisfied with the Opera House treatment. Everyone becomes silent. She repeats that all the scores of the Lopez Opera House are actually her work, and they are all shocked. However, Robin reacts in shock and asks what she means. Ariana explains that the aria of the mistress they heard is only an arranged version, and she says the original song is different. She goes to the piano and plays the original piece. Everyone is stunned and thinks it cannot be true, because the emotions expressed through it are much deeper and better. They realize she is the real composer of the Lopez Opera House. She continues playing, then tells them she wants to offer them a new job, where an orchestra will perform instead of her brother. She thinks to herself that the members do not fully trust her yet, so she must convince them. She also tells them they will receive a much better salary than before. The musicians begin to agree, saying they will follow her, and even Luke, the master of the Lopez Orchestra, agrees to join. Robin quickly says he will also follow her and asks to be taken along, and others also agree. She becomes happy and then turns to look at Edward lying down, asking what should be done with him. Robin quickly says they will handle everything, and the others agree to take care of the aftermath so she can go ahead without worry. Ariana thanks them and says she will trust them. In the next scene, Ariana stands outside and thinks that all the members are signing contracts with her, and she feels relieved that she has secured the orchestra as planned. She then receives a letter from the Information Guild marked completed, meaning the request is done. She opens the photo and sees Lucas and Elena acting intimately in a garden walkway. After that, in another scene, we see Elena and Leo sitting together as Leo reports that there are many results. Ariana thinks to herself that his intelligence is strong, but also means the couple was reckless. Leo then says there is more information, and she asks what it is. He says Elena Lopez has been visiting the pharmacy. She thinks it might be because of pregnancy concerns with Lucas, but then she says it looks like contraception and could be used as evidence. Leo corrects her and says it is actually the opposite, and Elena was prescribed fertility medicine. Ariana becomes shocked and repeats it, asking if it is fertility medicine. In the next scene, our girl is thinking to herself that Elena is trying to get pregnant, and that it was planned from the beginning. She believes Elena deceived her, seduced Lucas, and is now pregnant with his child. She also thinks that if Elena could even go as far as running someone over with a car, then there is nothing she cannot do. Just then, she hears Lucas's voice and Dante's voice calling her my bride, and saying she seems relaxed enough to be walking in an alleyway. Dante then says, "Your Grace," and Ariana asks who the man is. He replies while leaving an unconscious man he was holding, and tells her that she did not know she had a tail following her. She becomes shocked and asks if that man was following her, thinking she had no idea. She also wonders if Dante Heigenberg was the one who dealt with him. Dante then says, a lady raised so delicately is an easy target, and since she is involved with the big shot, she must be more careful. She realizes he is right and apologizes, saying she will be more cautious. He then asks why she is crying, and she touches her face but notices she is not actually crying. She explains she is just tired and says wedding preparations are more exhausting than expected. He responds that since she has 2 grooms, it must be even harder, then gently touches her face and asks when she will deal with one of them. She replies that she will proceed with the wedding with Lucas as planned, but she will leave him on the wedding day. He smiles and says that if it were him, he would make it more dramatic and even offers to help. She is surprised and refuses, saying she can handle it herself. He then lets her go. Our girl is now at the jewelry shop putting on a bracelet while she is with Lucas. The seller happily says she has clear skin and that rubies suit her well, and also comments that it is rare to find a man who can afford such expensive gifts. Lucas tells the seller to give it to him and says he cannot do less for his fiancée, adding that the show is already completely sold out. Meanwhile, Ariana thinks to herself that he is only boasting about sold-out tickets while also spending on expensive jewelry gifts. It feels like both of them are playing their own game without noticing the full picture. However, Ariana tells Lucas that she did not sleep well last night, so she is tired and wants to go home quickly. He then notices her and asks if she is crying. She thinks to herself that her eyes may just be watering from too many yawns. Lucas, however, believes she is moved by the gift and thinks she looks cute. He smiles and tells her that when she marries him and becomes Marchioness, she will have plenty more gifts like this, calling her his adorable fiancée. Ariana remembers Dante's words from the night before, when he told her he could crash her wedding, make it invalid, or even grab her waist and kiss her, and asked if she was too scared to go alone and if she could really leave safely. She admits to herself that she is honestly scared, but she also thinks it is too bold to ask Dante Heigenberg to come to the wedding. Back in the present, Lucas and Ariana stand together while he thinks that the investment is expensive but worth it, since the warehouse will soon be full and his returns will grow many times after her performance and the festival. Suddenly, a horse runs toward them, and people shout for everyone to move because it is a mad horse. Lucas shouts and runs away, leaving Ariana behind. She falls down as the horse comes close, but then someone pulls her away just in time. As a result, she hears Dante's voice asking if she is all right and if she is hurt. She looks surprised and asks how he is there. He tells her he cannot take his eyes off her and asks if she still thinks she does not need his help, telling her to say she needs him and not handle everything alone. He reminds her that she should use him fully. Ariana feels her heart become heavy and confused, wondering if her feelings are from fear or because of him. She then tells him she will send him an invitation to the wedding, and he smiles and says he will gladly attend. In the next scene, Lucas is sitting on the ground, exhausted and confused. He wonders why a crazy horse suddenly charged at them. He then calls out for Ariana, asking where she is. He turns and sees her in the arms of another man. Around them, people begin talking, saying the Duke saved the lady and that he is even more handsome than expected. They also wonder why such a gentle man has the nickname Mara. Hearing this, Lucas becomes angry and says it is a disgrace, and blames the four-legged beast. He rushes toward them and calls Ariana his love, saying she must have been very scared. Dante stops him and calls him the Marquis of Pettigrew. Lucas becomes shocked and thinks about how tall the man is. Dante then questions if it is family honor to use a lady as a shield, which makes people around them feel embarrassed. Lucas quickly says that is not true, and claims he was also coming to save Ariana. He then tries to take her hand and says that even if it was not a joke, he would have saved her, and asks if she is hurt, also asking about the ruby bracelet he gave her. Ariana replies that it fell when he tripped, and he gets angry, thinking about how expensive it is. He quickly picks it up from the ground. As a result, Dante tells Ariana he will gift her a new bracelet. Lucas becomes angry and asks why the Duke is giving jewelry to his fiancée, then tells Ariana not to worry because he will buy another one. He then thinks about how expensive it must be. Just then, Leo comes and tells Dante they must leave or they will miss the audience. Dante tells Ariana to contact him if she is injured, and she thanks him for saving her. He kisses her hand and says goodbye until they meet again. Lucas becomes furious and thinks about Dante's actions, feeling possessive and jealous while also realizing Ariana is very beautiful and even more beautiful than Elena. He also thinks it is the first time he feels possessive and wonders if Dante also fell for her. He then tells Ariana to come home with him and stay at the mansion, and says he will come to her room at night. Ariana becomes shocked and thinks he has lost his mind after the horse incident, then tells him her shoulder still hurts from when he pushed her earlier. However, Ariana says she will go home alone today. Lucas tells her that if she is in pain, she should rest, calling her my love. She agrees and turns away immediately. Seeing how she turns, he thinks to himself that she's clearly mocking him, but instead of being angry, he feels like he is losing control and wants to have her. He also thinks that in 5 days the wedding will happen, and then he will have her completely, and he will make her cry for him with her cute mouth. In the next scene, Ariana dresses in a wedding gown while Sophie tells her she looks dazzling and beautiful. She thanks her, and Sophie says she is serious and even worries that the marquis might fall for her again. Ariana smiles and thinks Sophie is getting angry with her, remembering how she was angry in the past life. She then asks if it is true that Elna and Marquis Lucas had an affair, and she confirms it. Ariana then says she is not marrying Lucas. Sophie says that it is natural. Ariana also says she is thinking of becoming the Duchess of Heigenberg, even if only temporarily. Willem asks what she means, and she explains that she wants to bring back the real Lopez known for music during her contract period with the Duke, and she asks for help. Back in the present, Sophie tells her she will always support her and starts brushing her hair. As if that is not enough, Elena interrupts and says Ariana's skin is pale, so the white dress does not stand out, and she takes the comb from Sophie. Ariana tells Elena she looks very pretty today, and says guests might confuse who the bride is if she looks too plain. Elena replies that since it is her special day, she also wants her to shine, but says the performance is only 3 days away, and she cannot afford to look shabby. She then begins singing dramatically. Ariana listens and says she sings well, but her acting is still awkward, and she says the role should feel more vulgar because the story is about a woman having an affair with her friend's husband. Elena becomes angry and asks if she is crazy and says she has been acting strange. Just then, Lucas's mother enters and asks what all the noise is about. Ariana greets her by calling her the Marchioness of Pettigrins. They all greet her, but Elena quickly tries to help her sit. Lucas's mother refuses and says how dare she touch her, calling her vulgar. Elena apologizes. She then thinks to herself while looking at Elena that with a mother like that, what could she have learned? First, Elena is looking embarrassed. Ariana thinks that her commoner mother is her biggest weakness. Elena is also very afraid of Lucas's mother, the head of the noble family. Elena then apologizes and says she will leave, and she goes away. Lucas's mother then speaks to Ariana and insults her, saying she only treated her face and looks too clean in a wedding dress, and she is too skinny and may not bear a child well. Ariana remembers that in her past life, this woman always harassed her the most. She decides she will not accept it anymore. Ariana replies that a strong seed is needed for good growth. The woman gets angry and says she already feels sorry for her son marrying below his status. Ariana responds that her grandfather was a famous musician and her mother was respected. The woman dismisses it, saying the family became poor and a merchant after her grandfather died, and Lucas saved them with the opera house. Ariana replies that they also benefit from the profits and mentions a moneylender debt, which makes the woman furious. She tries to slap Ariana, but Ariana dodges, and the woman almost falls. Ariana calmly says she should rest and leaves. Ariana is walking in the passage. She thinks she must stay strong before the ceremony so she does not miss the most entertaining part. A voice calls out, saying, "Customer? Customer, it's me." She turns and sees Leo. She asks why he is here. Leo says she looks serious today and tells her she must go somewhere right now. Something is about to happen. Our girl is being told that someone is caught red-handed. She thinks it must be Elena and Lucas, and she cannot believe they are together on the wedding day. In the next scene, we see Lucas and Elena in a room. Elena is crying while he tells her not to cry. She cries more and says Ariana called her vulgar, even though she dressed nicely for the wedding. She asks if Ariana hates her. Peter comforts her and says she is kind, and they will teach Ariana a lesson. Elena calls him her marquis, and they become intimate. Ariana closes the door outside and thinks seeing this makes her angry. Leo says he already has evidence, but wanted her to see it. Ariana thanks him and feels more determined. Moreover, Edward calls Ariana and asking why she is smiling. She says it is nice to see the family together. He complains about the chaos at the wedding and says she must serve the marquis properly now that she is part of the family. Lucas then comes to Ariana and says she looks beautiful. She notices him and thinks he is shameless. She points out lipstick on him, and he quickly wipes it off, saying it is fruit juice. She thinks he tried hard to hide things before the wedding. She also thinks about his past behavior and how he liked secret risky moments. Lucas asks what she means when she says he finished quickly, and she smiles and tells him he knows. Lucas thinks about Ariana's words and wonders what she knows and why she speaks like that. In addition to this, we see Elena walking in the garden, feeling very happy. She believes the Marquis is already under her control, even though he is engaged to Ariana. She feels excited and thinks it is thrilling. Then she notices Dante and wonders who he is. She thinks a duke like him should not be at the wedding for Lucas, who supports the emperor. She believes he may have come for her. She smiles and goes to him. She greets him as Dante replies that she is the sister of the bride. She feels pleased and thinks he knows her and came for her. She also thinks he is dangerous but attractive and wants to get closer. After that, the priest starts the ceremony. The groom, Lucas, walks in, and the bride, Ariana, follows. People talk about Ariana being the eldest daughter of the Lopez family and say she's more beautiful than expected. Elena feels bad because everyone is looking at Ariana. She also notices Dante looking strongly at Ariana and wonders about his expression. At the altar, the priest asks Lucas if he vows eternal love, and he agrees. Then the priest asks Ariana, and she says no. Everyone becomes shocked and confused. The priest questions what happens next, and Lucas says she is just nervous and asks to continue while holding her hands. The priest continues the wedding and says that if anyone has any objection to the marriage, they should speak now. Dante raises his hand and says he objects and is against the marriage. Lucas becomes angry and confused. Dante walks forward and tells Ariana that it will not work anymore, and everyone becomes confused. Leo in the crowd is shocked and thinks that Dante, the Duke, is also part of Ariana's plan. He remembers earlier when Ariana told him she would break off the wedding today instead of showing evidence first, so Elena could perform in front of everyone and reveal the truth about the song. Leo now wonders why Dante is helping her when he should not be involved. Lucas shouts at Dante that it makes no sense and says Ariana is his bride. Dante replies that he will not give her to a man like him. He tells Ariana to choose the right answer and choose him instead, saying no one will cherish her more. Lucas becomes angrier and tells Ariana not to listen and reminds her that he is the one she loves. Ariana replies that she has decided and says she cannot marry him. Lucas becomes silent and shocked and asks if she is breaking the engagement at the wedding. She answers yes and says she would rather be alone than stay in a bad situation involving her sister. Lucas becomes shocked and thinks she already knew the truth and tries to explain everything while holding her hand. Dante hits him and stops him from touching her. Dante then asks Ariana if she has chosen him. Before she can answer, he pulls her close and says he would have taken her away anyway. Ariana thinks about his strong eyes and wonders if he is acting. Dante says he has wanted her since the first time he saw her, and then kisses her. Hey, it's about to go down, people. The carriage moving on the road with Edward and Elena inside. Elena is crying. Edward gets angry and shouts that Ariana has caused a big mess and the wedding is ruined. He says the guests left in shock and the Marchioness was taken away on a stretcher. He worries the Marquis may become angry and remove support and money. He says the opera is near and blames Ariana and the Duke for the problem. He wonders where Ariana is and briefly thinks she may have remembered something, but he rejects that idea and says it has been too long. They arrive at their destination. Edward gets down and tells Elena to snap out of it and come down. She comes down slowly and says something feels wrong and wonders how Ariana can be with the Duke. He gets stressed and says the opera is in 3 days and everything may fail, including the festival performance. He says Elena is the soprano and tells her to look at the chaos, but insists she must still perform. He also says he will perform well even without Ariana. Then he opens the door and thinks he will find Ariana and force her back into the marriage. But Ariana is already inside and greets him calmly as a brother. Elena and Edward are shocked. Edward asks if it is really her. He becomes angry, grabs her clothes, and asks if she knows what she has done today. Edward is angrily confronting our girl and asking how she can come back home after causing such a mess. She replies that she is packing her things and leaving the house. He is shocked and asks what she just said. She says she is leaving to get married. He asks if she is really going to him, and she says yes. He slaps her and calls her a wretched girl, demanding she repeat herself. She remembers how scary he used to look when angry, like their drunk father, but now she finds it ridiculous and smiles. He gets angrier and raises his hand again, but she kicks him and he falls in pain. Elena runs to him and calls him brother. Ariana remembers her grandfather teaching her to kick a man in the shin for self-defense and thinks it worked. She says she's not marrying Lucas, but Edward calls her crazy. She asks if he is not curious why she ended the engagement. He agrees to listen and asks for the reason. She says Lucas was unfaithful to her younger sister on the wedding day. Elena gets angry and runs at her, denying it and calling it false. She claims Ariana is trying to ruin her life and tells Edward to punish her. Edward thinks it may be true and remembers Elena and Lucas's behavior. Elena keeps shouting that Ariana is ruining her marriage, but Edward suddenly slaps Elena and says she has never been hit before. Elena is shocked and calls him brother. This is turning into a family disaster. Edward shouts at Elena to apologize to her sister immediately. She refuses, and they start arguing. Ariana watches and thinks Elena is shocked, and remembers she was never hit by their father or brother because she always protected her. She thinks Elena may not even understand that. Elena says Edward is going too far, but he calls her the same and slaps her again. He tells her to kneel before Ariana. Elena is shocked and asks if he is mad. Edward says even if nothing happened, she should act like she is sorry if Ariana suspects her. Elena questions him, but he ignores it and thinks he must first calm Ariana, so she will forgive Elena later. Ariana suddenly speaks and says she enjoyed the cheap comedy. Edward and Elena are confused. She says she is leaving and calls herself their audience before walking out. Edward gets angry and runs after her, but a guard stops him and says the Duke ordered that no one should stop Ariana. In addition to this, we see Ariana inside another room. She thinks this is the Duke's room and wonders where he is. Then she sees him by the window and thinks he looks different, almost like a new person because of his appearance. Everything feels more strange now. Dante looks at Ariana and asks what is wrong with her face. She asks what he means, and he asks again who did this to her. He holds her face and says he cannot accept his things being damaged, especially his woman. Ariana hears this and thinks maybe he is worried about her, but she also thinks it is only because of his pride. She apologizes and says it will not happen again. He then asks who did it, and she becomes silent. He guesses it was not her younger sister and says it must be her brother, Edward Lopez. He asks how he should deal with him. She does not answer, only says she kicked his shin. Dante smiles and asks if that was enough for her. She says it is not enough and that it is only the beginning, but thanks him for helping her today. He says he is glad she is satisfied and says he did well. He then touches her lips. She becomes confused and remembers the earlier kiss and feels nervous, telling herself to calm down and that it was only acting. She says people in the city will talk about it and she will repay him later. He says she owes him a lot. She is surprised and asks what he means, and he says she really does not remember. He tells her he will give her time to remember, and she wonders what memory he is talking about and thinks of something from her childhood, but is unsure what it connects to. Furthermore, two women talking are about the wedding incident. One says everyone heard about it. The other says the Marchioness has a neck brace now. They talk about how the Duke took the bride and how strange it is that Ariana managed to reject him. They wonder what will happen to the princess. In addition to this, we see Catherine, the princess, reading a newspaper about Dante taking the bride. She feels angry and says Ariana Lopez is the woman who rejected her. She says she wants to see Ariana's face and is curious about her. Back at the house, Edward shouts that the ledger is actually right. He says it to Willem, and the Red Butler responds, "Yes, master." Then Edward stands up happily. He reads the book and says, "It's enough. The second and third days are completely sold out. Even the scalpers are trading tickets. This is exactly what it means when a bad situation turns into an opportunity." He thinks that the damned woman's mistake becomes a blessing. After that, he asks Willem about the total revenue, and Willem answers, 10 million cardina. Edward folds his arms and thinks that even when his father led the family, such a huge amount never came in. Then he tells Willem to contact the tailor shop and bring their catalog. Willem replies, "Yes, master." Edward thinks that with so much money, he should order more expensive and better clothes, and he smiles. All this time, Willem just watches him from behind. At another scene, Ariana holds a letter and thinks that Edward has already sold out and even ordered a suit to celebrate. She thinks it is an achievement that the Lopez house has never had before. She feels he must think he is on top of the world, like he is floating above the highest clouds. She smiles as she thinks this, but then she also thinks the coming fall will be even more painful. After that, she drops the letter and decides to meet her people. Ariana enters the room and thanks the men for coming. She says she is sorry she has not paid attention to the members lately and asks if practice is going well. Lorelai responds that she is too busy, so there is no problem. Luis also says everything is going smoothly and tells her to trust them, Lady Ariana. Ariana then thinks about them as the stars of the Lopez Opera House. Harry, tall, cool, and charismatic with a handsome face. Ruben, an angelic and cute young boy. And Lorelai, loved by female fans for his unique charm and friendliness. She looks at them and thinks the room is bright. She decides she will take responsibility for changing their futures because they have followed her and trust her. Just then, Paul enters the room and says that the princess's carriage has arrived. Ariana becomes shocked and asks what they should do since the Duke is not present. Luis, Ruben, and Lorelai are also shocked. Ariana thinks the princess arrives without warning and remembers that everyone knows Dante was her first love. She tells them to guide the princess to the VIP room. She also asks Ruben to perform there, and Ruben is shocked but agrees. In the VIP room, Ruben plays music while Ariana and the princess sit together. The princess asks Ariana why she is acting like the lady of the house when she is only a guest. Ariana replies that she knows her position is not suitable, but she is acting on behalf of the Duke. The princess questions if that means a marriage promise has been made, but Ariana stays silent. The princess becomes angry and thinks about the situation with Dante, the news from paradise, and how her people were stopped. She feels shocked that a marriage promise may have already happened and thinks it is unacceptable. Ariana then says the princess should be more suitable as the lady of the house and praises her noble status. She also comments on the dress design, which makes the princess curious. The princess then reveals she designed the dress herself and tells her not to look for it in boutiques. Ariana says she recognized the style and confirms it matches the princess's work. The princess asks how she knows her style, and Ariana says she even has a catalog of her works. The princess is shocked and thinks it is from her time at the Royal Academy. Ariana calls out to her, and the princess suddenly tells her to get rid of the catalog immediately. The princess continues speaking and says Trader Art TV immediately. Ariana asks why. She then replies that it is a work from several years ago, and if seen now, it is full of flaws. Ariana says she also found comfort in that catalog, especially in the piece titled The Girl Holding a Dandelion Siege. She explains the girl's heart is very earnest and cannot let go of something that will drift away. And when she feels lonely about things she cannot have, she often looks at it and feels comfort. The princess then thinks that this feeling of emptiness from wanting something unreachable is exactly what she meant when she painted it, and she is surprised no one has described it so clearly. She shakes her head and tells herself to focus and not forget her purpose. After that, she stands up and points at Ariana, saying she accepts her sharp eye but warns her not to let Dante get caught in scandals. She also thinks that even if she does this, there is no chance between her and Lord Dante. And if she were with him, he would become too powerful as a rival for the throne, and it would make the Empire's politics harder. The princess hears music playing and asks what it is. Our girl asks if she should stop it if it bothers her, and she replies that she is only asking what it is. Ariana explains it is inspired by the princess's work from last year's founding festival. The princess is shocked and asks if it is true. Ariana smiles and says the piece is titled Two Faces of Joy, and it felt very lonely. The princess thinks about how Ariana understands her work so well and asks how she knows this music. Our girl says she composed it herself, and the princess reacts in shock, saying a human composed it. Ariana answers yes, just like the woman who painted that painting. The princess then thinks Ariana planned everything to gain her favor, uses her fan to cover her face, and says she is leaving for today, then walks away. Ariana thinks the princess is weak to compliments, and that after today she will not interfere for a while, even though she was not lying about liking the painting. The princess is easier to read than she thinks. As a result, Ariana observes the princess going into a carriage and continues thinking that it is true that she composed the music after seeing the painting named Two Faces of Joy. She thinks her feelings are genuine. Then, at another place, many people line up, and Elena appears. People in the car shout that Lady Elena looks beautiful today, and they are looking forward to her singing. The wedding event suddenly becomes a hot topic, and it is sold out every time. It feels very surprising. Everything seems to go well just after Ariana's sister disappears. She thinks her sister is like a goddess of misfortune to them. She also questions what is so great about losing her sister and why the Marquis is desperately trying to find her. After today's performance, the Marquis will know who the true treasure of the Lopez Opera House is, and Elena thinks she will become the Marchioness of Pettigrew. Inside the house, Edward shouts that the orchestra members are not showing up, and the performance is about to start without them. Elena asks what he means, and he says they are all absent. She becomes angry and asks how they can all be late on such an important day, and tells him to bring them from their homes. Edward says they are all missing and cannot be found. Elena says she does not know other musicians. Edward shouts at her and asks where they can find someone who can learn the difficult score quickly. Then Lucas appears and suggests they are about to ruin the performance. Edward bows and says he will find a piano accompanist for now. He then pulls Elena closer and tells her to go outside and buy time. Elena is confused but agrees after Edward warns her carefully, saying he has put money on this and will be very angry if a mistake ruins it. Elena goes on stage in front of the crowd, and people murmur because there is no orchestra, only a soprano. She begins singing, and people say her voice is good, but it feels dull without accompaniment. She thinks she is a professional and must perform without failing, or Edward will react badly. Suddenly, she sees Ariana in the crowd and is shocked, thinking why her sister is here. Elena stops singing for a moment, and people in the crowd begin saying, "What is this? Did she miss something? Why isn't she starting again?" Then she stands on the stage and looks at Ariana. Elena thinks in her mind that Ariana wants to see her fail, and that is the only reason she is still there. She refuses to shake. She thinks she is not an amateur and will show her true skills, so she continues singing. She keeps singing and thinks she cannot be brought down, and sees the grand stage made for her. As she sings, something appears on a screen. She wonders what it is and then realizes it is a picture of Lucas and her being intimate. The picture falls to the ground, and she thinks Ariana knew everything all along and had been watching like a mouse waiting in silence. At that moment, Ariana shouts from the crowd to keep singing. Elena's eyes widen, and she thinks about Ariana and the meaning behind it, and she also feels the song is mocking her. Ariana's revenge is already in progression. As a result, people in the crowd become angry. One says, "What is this?" and calls it a waste of money. Another says they were promised something legendary, but only got noise on stage. Someone else says they only heard weak music and suggests asking for a refund because they cannot waste money on this opera, and everyone agrees. Then Paul, who is disguised, speaks and suggests they should go to a high-class performance at Madeleine Square and says it is free, asking if they should go there instead. Ariana rushes back out and thinks she is not too late. People become amazed when they see the orchestra, and one person asks what it is while a child asks what the huge violin is. Meanwhile, Rosalind, who is in the orchestra and also part of the singing group, feels nervous and wonders if she will do well. Then she hears her name, Rosalind, and turns and sees Lady Ariana. She calls her Lady Ariana, and Ariana smiles and tells her to just perform as they practiced. In addition to this, Ariana thinks that 1 month of practice was not much, but everyone worked very hard every day. She believes the time they spent practicing will not betray them. Then Luis turns his face slightly and looks at her, and he starts controlling the orchestra. The music begins and everyone starts playing. As the crowd hears the music, someone says, "Wow, such a beautiful melody." Then Rosalind begins singing, and a man in the crowd says he has never seen a singer like her before. Another person says her voice is very beautiful. Ariana hears this and thinks she is doing well. She also remembers when Rosalind said she wanted to be better than Lady Elena. Rosalind once said she wondered why Ariana wanted to discover her, and she thought Ariana wanted to take back songs lost to her family, so she would help Elena, who gave her the chance. As Rosalind sings, more people in the crowd praise her voice and sound, but some say the lyrics are strange. The song talks about being close to a friend and forbidden feelings, and people get shocked, saying she is talking about seducing a friend's husband. Then she continues singing about hiding love and white lies, and the crowd becomes angrier, saying all cheaters say the same things. She also sings about love in the garden, hallway, and a friend's dressing room, and a lady in the crowd says it is shameless. Rosalind thinks love is not a crime, and if it is, she is guilty for life. I did not expect the performance to turn so wild. While this is happening, Lucas and Edward arrive and are both very angry. Lucas thinks people are gathering in the square and watching this bad performance, and the song is about him and Elena. Then the song ends, and Elena speaks to the crowd, thanking them for enjoying the performance and introducing the producer. After this, our girl walks onto the stage, and Rosaline says it is Lady Ariana Lopez. Lucas becomes even angrier as he sees this and thinks he will not let Ariana get away with it. Ariana stands on the stage and thanks the crowd. The crowd goes wild. A man in the crowd says he saw it in the newspaper and that it is Eveline. Another lady says Ariana Lopez, the runaway bride, and she is shocked that such a young girl made that song. Then Edward jumps out from the crowd and shouts Ariana Lopez, saying she stole his stage. Ariana replies that she is Marquise and says it has been a while, and she also says it is more correct to say she took it back, not stole it. Edward becomes angry and tries to raise his hand at her. Ariana says it was her music, so she is taking it back. The crowd begins to murmur, confused by what she is saying, and Edward stops his hand in the air. Then Lucas comes from behind and pushes through Edward and others toward Ariana, grabbing her shoulder and shouting that he searched for her, and she humiliated him. He asks how she could not contact him. Ariana replies by asking if a marquis has the right to interrogate her like that. Lucas answers that she is the one who humiliated him and cheated first, asking when she started sneaking around with the Duke behind his back. Ariana replies that it is funny and says only a pig sees another pig. Lucas asks if she is denying it after what he saw. He moves close to her ear and says she is finished and talks about disgrace and chastity, saying she is trying to humiliate him and he will not be affected. He then tells the crowd that Ariana is the one who cheated with the Duke and that Elena only comforted him. The crowd murmurs. He continues saying Ariana is paranoid and mentally unstable, claiming she loses control when he speaks to other women. He thinks in his mind that he arranged a fake diagnosis through Ariana's doctor by bribing them, calling it paranoia and delusions. He says he only suggested treatment because he cared. Ariana smiles and says paranoid and delusions, asking if that is his counterattack. Lucas is shocked and wonders why she is laughing. Ariana then speaks loudly to the crowd and says he bribed a doctor with a gambling addiction to create a fake diagnosis, and that his financial situation is bad, so he did something desperate. The crowd becomes more shocked and murmurs that he may have bribed a doctor and tried to frame her as paranoid. The truth is finally out. As a result, the crowd continues reacting in confusion, asking if he really tried to frame her and questioning what really happened, while the tension on stage keeps rising. However, Lucas still shouts at Ariana, saying it is true that she had an inappropriate relationship with the Duke. He points at her and says she ran off with the Duke on her wedding day, and that cannot be denied. Ariana responds by saying maybe he did not hear about Elena. Then she takes out pictures from her pocket and says she will show him. Marquise? She reveals photos of Lucas and Elena being intimate. The crowd sees the photos and begins to murmur, asking what they are, and realizing they are real pictures. Ariana then explains that when an act breaks a marriage, the victim can demand a divorce, and any later acts cannot be blamed for the breakup. She slams the photos into Lucas's chest and says that the moment he slept with her sister, she was free to love any man she chooses. Lucas looks at the pictures, his hands shaking, and asks why this is happening and when it was taken. The crowd picks up the fallen photos and agrees she is telling the truth, saying it matches the song lyrics and that he really cheated with her sister. Lucas becomes very angry and calls Ariana a terrifying woman, saying he is fed up with her. He crushes the picture and says she acted innocent but was planning everything behind the scenes. He insults her, saying she is not worthy of love and calls her unappealing. and says the Duke will soon get tired of her. Just then, Duke Dante arrives, grabs Lucas by his clothes, and tells him to stop speaking informally to him, saying they are now close. Lucas trembles and calls him Duke. Dante tells him that men who cling to women who leave them are disgusting and tells him to stop touching his fiancée. Then he throws Lucas to the ground and tells him to leave. He then turns to Ariana and tells her to come with him. They walk together and enter a carriage. Inside, Dante tells her that the last time she came back with the slap, and now she is listening to insults, and he will make it clear that she will be his wife and should not lower herself because it would lower him too. Ariana apologizes and says that when Lucas speaks, it turns against him, so she thought it was useful. And she thanks Dante for helping her. Dante replies that she should be more shameless so he can feel less guilty, and Ariana says she has not done anything for him yet. Dante then says not to worry, because after marriage, they will be able to do everything freely. Ariana's eyes widen after hearing what Dante says. She thinks it would not be possible for him to do that and looks at his lower body. Dante notices her and calls her name, saying her face is turning red while smiling. He then says that since she is an artist, she should let her imagination run wild. Ariana quickly responds that it is not like that. The next day, Ariana sees a newspaper and wonders what will be published. When she reads it, she sees shocking news. The paper reports that the Marquis of Pettigrew is caught in an inappropriate relationship with soprano Elena Lopez, and even more shocking, the other person is confirmed to be the fiancé's younger sister. Ariana thinks about how the information appears right after the revelation in the square and believes the 3 most active gossip papers in the capital are involved. The photos show Lucas and Elena clearly. She feels the article is cleaner and stronger than expected, with a bold headline and solid evidence. Then she notices the newspaper called Empire's Morning, which is the most respected newspaper in the Empire and does not usually publish gossip. She is shocked that they published it without a proper investigation. In another scene, Leo speaks to Dante and says the capital is in chaos because of the news. He questions why Dante has been acting so recklessly, running off with another man's bride, and now pushing for articles when he never did such things before. Dante does not answer. Leo continues that he has published a special feature as requested, and it is already spreading widely. Dante says it is enough as a wedding gift. Leo is shocked and asks if Dante plans to marry her. Dante replies that, of course he will, and that is the reason he took the bride from the wedding. Leo wonders in his mind if this is really Dante Heigenberg. Dante then reads another newspaper report saying that the story of the mistress was revealed to be based on the composer's own life experiences, shocking the public, and that the full lyrics are included. Everything is spreading faster than anyone expected. People gather around and read the newspaper, talking about the shocking pictures. One person says the images are frightening and asks who would have thought the Marquis of Pettigrew would be like this. Another says the famous soprano they praised is also involved. The gossip continues, and a lady asks if the lyrics of Asha of the Mistress are all true. Another lady answers that it talks about the garden, hallway, and even a friend's dressing room, calling it disgraceful. Elena enters the building and greets everyone, but the crowd goes silent and turns away. She thinks they are ignoring her on purpose. She sees Olivia, goes to her, and greets her kindly, but Olivia covers her face with her phone and walks away, thinking Elena is acting friendly for no reason. Elena thinks Olivia was begging to come to her salon just a week ago. Then other royals whisper and ask if she is the woman who seduced her sister's fiancé, and they call it shameless. Elena hears all of this and tells herself to stay calm, thinking it is only a passing trial, and scandals help a star's success. Someone calls Elena's name, but she first thinks they are still watching her. She turns and answers with a smile. Then a girl from a dress shop says the payment for a dress is overdue. Elena's eyes widen, and she says her brother will handle it soon. The girl says the manager wants payment by the end of the week. Elena insists she will take care of it, but the crowd continues murmuring. She quickly walks away, thinking why everyone is staring as if she were a spectacle. Then she bumps into Lucas, who is covered in a cape, and says it is him. Elena is shocked and calls him Lorelei. Lucas asks if she is crazy for walking outside when they should stay hidden. Elena says she was trying to find a way to fix their reputation. Lucas says everything is already in the papers and tells her they only have one way to survive. He says he knows a journalist, and she must confess that she seduced him, saying there is only one clear photo of them kissing. Elena worries about her reputation, but then suggests facing it directly and even proposes marrying him, saying she would be a better wife than her sister. Lucas then gives an evil smile and rejects her, saying she is a commoner and he would never marry her. Elena's eyes widen in shock. Lucas speaks to Elena and tells her that he seems to have forgotten they live in the same house. He reminds her that while Ariana and Lucas's mother is from a noble family, Elena's mother is a commoner. And nobles and commoners should not mix, yet they already have. He brings his face closer to Elena and tells her that everyone must live in their proper place according to their station. Elena's eyes widen and she thinks about proper place and station. Lucas then says that this is how both she and he can survive. At another scene, Sophie speaks to Ariana and tells her about the news that Elena was publicly chased down for her on-page dress bill and ran out of the shop like a fugitive. Ariana thinks it was bound to happen and that Elena is likely deep in debt after the opera refunds as she sips her tea. Sophie then says a man dragged Elena into an alley and they saw red hair. Ariana says it must be Lucas. Sophie continues with her hand on her chin, imagining what they talked about. Ariana thinks about the scandal with a lower status woman and how Lucas must have reacted, while Elena is still driven by her desires. Ariana then gives Sophie a letter and asks her to deliver it to Willem at Count Lopez's residence. Both Sophie and Sophie respond that they will do so. Sophie asks if Ariana has other business since she is still in her dress, and Ariana says she is going to see the Duke for a moment. Sophie reacts with excitement and says she can be trusted. Later, Duke Dante is in his office and tells the person at the door to come in. Ariana enters and greets him, saying, "Good evening, Your Grace." While she stands there, she remembers Sophie overdoing her hair and how she could not stop her enthusiasm. Ariana speaks to Dante and says she came because she has something to give him. Dante asks what it is, and she moves closer to the piano. Ariana then begins to recall that over the past months, she has watched the Duke closely, and he always looks tired from staying up late working and often closes his eyes even when traveling. She thinks this is the first song she ever composed and sits at the piano to play it. She also remembers that when she was very young, she made this song hoping her mother would have sweet dreams, and she wonders if it will help him. While she plays, she turns and sees Duke Dante beside her. He holds her hand and says that talent is always captivating. She quickly removes her hand and thinks the music is captivating, she supposes. Our girl then tells him she assumes the article in the Empire's morning paper was thanks to his influence, Your Grace. Dante asks why she thinks so, and she explains that conservative people would not have published it so quickly otherwise. She says it may not be much of a reward, but it is all she can offer, and that listening to relaxing music may help him sleep. She offers to bring the music sheet. Dante responds that he does not want the music sheet, but wants her to come in person and play whenever he desires, like on sleepless nights. He touches her chin as he speaks, but she removes his hand and tries to speak. Yet he interrupts and moves closer, asking if she is wearing perfume. Ariana is surprised and recalls Sophie saying she hates fashionable people spraying perfume on their hair. She turns red and says it does not matter. Dante asks if she knows the flower the scent comes from, and she says she is not sure. He says it is cyclamen. Ariana then thinks it is a flower from the Coda regions and likely grows in the duchy. Dante then smiles and says its flower language means, "Follow this scent and come to my bed." Ariana thinks that Sophie probably does not think about the meaning of flowers, because she is not a complicated girl. She also thinks the real problem is the man who feels the need to point it out, and maybe the real problem is herself for getting too affected. Ariana then speaks to Dante and apologizes, saying, knowledge of flowers is part of a lady's culture and she has not studied enough. Dante smiles, turns away, and says she is good at making excuses for not knowing. He adds that her revenge is going well and he is enjoying it, but she must not forget there is still a price for using him. Ariana responds that she will do her best as the Duchess. Dante then says that from tomorrow, people will come for wedding preparations, and he plans to make her the most precious bride in the capital. Ariana's eyes widen, and she remembers a past life moment where Dante told her not to be foolish and come closer, and that he might treat her like a precious jewel. She thinks that in both lives, he is the only one who said he would cherish her. Dante tells her to be ready. She answers yes and prepares to leave. As she stands, he comes behind her and asks if she has remembered what she forgot. Ariana thinks it is that again, and says she has not yet, adding that they should get a record soon, Lord Dante. Later that night, Ariana lies in bed and begins to dream. In the dream, her younger self is running and thinking that she must run if she does not want to die. The younger self falls to the ground, holding her knees and crying, saying she is coming out, calling for her mom and grandpa. Then Ariana wakes up and sits up, thinking about the dream. She puts her hand on her head and remembers that it is from when she was 10 years old, when she lost her grandfather and mother. She thinks that whenever she tries to remember it, the headache becomes so strong that she stops. She wonders if she's right to try to know it, or if it is because of the Duke's concerns, or if she needs to recall something. Then she speaks and asks if she is missing something important, while looking out through the window. At the Lopez residence, two maids talk. One says she cannot believe it. The other says Ariana, who was almost invisible in the mansion, has become the Duchess. Another maid comes and says Lady Elena used to be more popular, and she is still locked in her room. Another maid says she saw Willem going upstairs earlier. Then Willem stands in front of Elena's door and says outside that she has been in her room since she returned from her outing. Elena answers from inside that if he is going to nag, he should get lost. He enters the room and sits, then asks if she has met the Marquise of Pettigrew. Elena does not confirm clearly. He then asks if she was told to take responsibility for everything. Elena cries and says she was told to confess she attacked him and that they would find her a marriage match abroad, and she calls him a bastard. Willem says that if she leaves the capital, she will be in danger. Elena asks what he means, and he says she could be eliminated as a loose end because she knows the truth. Elena asks if the Marquis would kill her, and he says it is not impossible. She remembers Lucas telling her she cannot be his wife and thinks it might be true. She tells Wilhelm to do something, saying she is from the Lopez family, and he cannot just watch. Wilhelm says he cannot stay idle and tells her there is one way to survive. Elena's eyes widened. Ariana later sits with Madame Eveline and looks at a catalog of wedding dresses. Madame Eveline thinks Ariana is now the Duke's lover and very famous, and that making her dress will make her name famous, especially since the Duke is known to be very generous. Ariana says all the designs are beautiful, and she likes some styles, but she is not sure about the price limit. Madame Eveline says the price limit is fine, but Ariana says she was not informed yet, and that the limit is 50 million. Madame Eveline thinks there is almost no limit at all and says all dresses are below 50 million. Ariana then says there is a problem and says it must be over 50 million because he has ordered that nothing below that price should be bought. Eveline is shocked and thinks that the price limit is not the upper limit, but the lower limit. She also says that the total jewelry in her store is not even worth 100 million cardina. She is shocked again in her mind. Ariana looks at her and thinks Eveline is reacting the same way as the jeweler she met yesterday, when she tried to make her the most precious bride in the empire, and she wonders who knew it would be done in such a simple and rough way. Ariana then smiles and says that if it is too much, she will look for another shop. Eveline immediately shouts that they have silk imported from the East and she will sew it, sewing it all along the bottom of the dress. She also says she will sew small diamonds tightly into the lace to raise the price at once. Ariana says she did not know there was such a way. Eveline says to leave it to her, and she thinks she cannot miss the most talked about big chance in the empire for this reason. Our girl agrees and says she will leave it to Eveline. Eveline then asks if the Duke really loves Ariana. Ariana asks if it seems that way, and Eveline says of course it warms her heart just watching it, and tells her to be careful because her love is very gentle. Ariana thanks her. Eveline then says Ariana has a painful past and thinks she is curious about their hidden story. Ariana says that it is right, and that Eveline has comforted her a lot. Eveline takes notes in her mind. Eveline then asks if it is about that incident. Ariana says it is about her past experience, and that at first the Duke frustrated her because she still planned to marry him even after learning about her fiancé's affair. Eveline thinks the Duke was furious about Ariana's engagement situation and notes it. Our girl continues that the Duke saved her at the wedding in a very extreme way, but it woke her up, and now she is grateful. Eveline thinks that is what happened, and that the man who comforted her after betrayal and love ended up falling in love with her. In addition to that, Eveline is thinking that if the man she loves saved her at the cost of his own honor. Ariana then interrupts her thoughts and says that the Duke did not reveal Lucas's affair for her sake. He said he did not want the world to know about her wound. Eveline reacts and says, "Oh my, if Lady Ariana had not revealed the truth." Ariana then answers that yes, the Duke would have carried everything himself and taken all blame for breaking the engagement alone. Eveline immediately clenches her fist, stands up, and says she will make the most beautiful and noble dress in the world, and since Lady Ariana trusts her, she will repay her with affection. Ariana thanks her and says she trusts her. Eveline then thinks inspiration is coming, and also wonders if the rumor will spread well. Ariana looks at her and thinks she has seen similar things with all the merchants during wedding preparations, so it should spread somehow, and that there are still many gaps in her relationship with Dante. So during the contract period, this marriage must become a perfect romance. The wedding day arrives at the Heigenberg mansion, and two men talk about how the whole estate is opened for the wedding and how grand it is. The orchestra is also seen as very famous, making the event feel even bigger. Reuben Eveline watches and becomes emotional, thinking it is the best day of her life. Ariana walks in with Dante as the bride and groom, and people in the hall say she looks like a goddess. Ariana feels nervous even though it is not her first time. The priest asks Dante if he vows to love and cherish the bride forever, and he says yes, gladly. The priest then asks Ariana, and she says she vows. Dante then tells her not to forget, and comes close and says she walked into this on her own, then kisses her. Finally, I've been waiting for this like forever. The crowd starts applauding, and later at the reception, music is playing while people walk around. Dante speaks to Ariana and says the music is nice, and wonders who composed it. Ariana responds the same and tells him not to joke around. He says he is serious and adds that everyone was surprised she composed it, and they were likely looking forward to her performance at the Foundation Festival. Ariana reacts in surprise and asks really. Dante then says of course, but he is expecting something different tonight. Ariana asks what he means. Dante moves closer, covers her eyes, and says they are already married, and asks if she is really thinking of sleeping in separate rooms. Ariana is shocked. Elena then interrupts and comes forward, saying, "Sister, you look so beautiful today," and congratulates her, saying she must be happy. Ariana thinks she is reserved at heart at the wedding reception as people around start murmuring and asking why Elena is there. Another lady says it is shameless for her to come. Reuben Eveline arrives and asks Elena Lopez what she is doing there and calls her shameless. Elena bows her head and apologizes, and Eveline asks why she is trembling. Elena stammers, and Ariana tells her to raise her head. Elena raises it while trembling and says she only came to congratulate her sister. Ariana thinks her acting has improved, and that she made herself look weak and like she has been crying. Elena comes closer again and praises Ariana's beauty and the couple, while others insult her and say no one wants her blessing. Elena then says she wonders if she should not have come now that Ariana is the Duchess, and she may never see her again. Ariana thinks she understands at least that. Elena then clutches her clothes and says, there is something Ariana does not know, and she never had the courage to say it until now. What evil is Elena cooking up again? Ariana asks Elena what it is and tells her to say it, while thinking it will probably be another weak excuse. Suddenly, Adolf Schmidt, the only son of Baron Schmidt, storms in and shouts that Miss Elena is the victim, and that everything is a misunderstanding. Ariana's eyes widen, and she thinks about why Adolf is siding with Elena. Adolf insists that there is a truth Lady Ariana does not know, and repeats that Elena is the victim. Duke Dante then pulls Ariana closer and tells Adolf that today is the day his bride should be the happiest person in the world, and asks if this story is so important that it must ruin that day. Adolf begins to tremble and thinks the pressure is making him lose his words. Elena tells him it is okay and looks down, saying Ariana still does not want to see her face. Adolf looks at Elena and thinks he must act anyway. Then he clenches himself and says it is indeed that important. Elena walks forward, and Ariana also steps closer while thinking that this excuse is not believable. Adolf then suddenly claims that Elena has been in a relationship with him all along and that they were secretly engaged. People in the crowd react and question if this is really true. Ariana thinks Adolf is being tricked and is unknowingly helping create false proof. Ariana moves closer to him while Elena stands nearby. Ariana tells Elena she has sincere advice for her and that she will say it only once, so she must listen carefully, and that it is not a good choice. Fear spreads over Elena as she hears this. Elena thinks that what Ariana says is not a good choice. The Schmidt family, where Adolf belongs, is very rich in the capital. She also thinks that with a little sweet talk and giving him space, he would act like he would give up everything for her in a foolish way. Elena believes Ariana is doing this out of envy, but then Elena speaks and says she does not understand what Ariana is talking about, sister. Ariana then replies, and she looks at Schmidt while thinking that Adolf may look like an easy option because he is easy to control. She also thinks that he will soon have serious crimes exposed, like illegal help, illegal trade, stalking, and kidnapping attempts, and he will be jailed. She also thinks his maritime trading company will be revealed as a scam and go bankrupt, and that he is a cheater and future criminal. Elena still has tears and says Ariana always cared, and once said the Marquis was kind to her. Elena then thinks that from today, people will stop blaming her and start blaming Ariana. She also says the Marquis told her not to wear makeup and to wear old clothes. The crowd begins to murmur and judge the situation. Elena then shouts that she never tried to seduce the Marquis. Elena thinks that people should feel pity for her, but she feels they are mocking her instead. Our girl calmly says she understands and asks if what Elena said is really true, even about the dressing room. Elena looks down and says she does not remember the dressing room, but the Marquis forced everything else. Ariana then thinks the Marquis is more evil than expected and says he should be punished immediately. Elena then wonders if Ariana really believes her, and she calls Ariana's sister while mentioning the Marquis has immunity. Our girl responds that with small charges, he cannot be investigated or arrested, but immunity is not perfect, and if enough people agree, he can still be punished. Elena says, "What?" Ariana then smiles and tells her she should accuse Lucas, and maybe the people there will agree with the claim. Ariana then turns to the crowd and asks if they will all help. The crowd begins to murmur, saying to report a fellow noble. A man in the crowd says that instead of standing with the Marquis of Pettigrew, it may be better to stand with the new Duchess. And Reuben Eveline then speaks up and says she will help with the claim. Many others also say they will join, and another says he will take part too. Ariana then smiles and says that if there is a claim, Lucas's immunity will not matter. Elena becomes bitter and thinks she did not want all this talk about reports and claims, only to change public opinion. She then asks Ariana if she is really okay with going against the Marquis, and Ariana tells her not to worry because many people are ready to help, and the truth will win. Later that night, Elena is in a carriage with Adolf. Adolf says it is great, and that soon the cruel Marquis will pay. Elena thinks Lucas will not be punished because there is no strong proof, and the case will fail. Adolf sees her thinking and believes she is lost in thought, so he moves closer and tells her that even if the Marquis goes to the police first, it will still damage his reputation, so she should not worry. Elena thinks Adolf is right and that Lucas's reputation will not recover. She then leans on Adolf's shoulder and says she feels safe with him, and Adolf says he will always stay by her side. Elena then thinks Ariana helping her is strange and wonders if she changed after becoming a duchess. She also wonders how Elena was able to attract the Duke when she could not, and thinks there must be some deal. She remembers Edward taking an old sheet of music and calls Ariana an insolent girl for taking her grandfather's sheet music. Edward had said it could sell for a high price, and its value would rise, and that someone might even give up a royalty for it. Elena then thinks the deal could only be for the Lopez sheet music and wonders if that sheet music was the price for the Duchess position. She then thinks that if she gets it back, she can take Ariana's place. And she smiles. Ariana is inside the bathtub and a butterfly comes out. She looks at it and thinks that every time she sees a butterfly, that music comes to her mind. She remembers the Phantom Butterfly trilogy, a series from her grandfather that became very popular. She also remembers that the final third part was lost after her grandfather died in a car accident. However, 3 years later, June reveals the lost third part at the founding ceremony and becomes very famous and rich. She also thinks he used musical scores from his maternal grandfather's estate to build his value. Ariana remembers she took some music sheets while living in the mansion, but many are still missing, so she must get them back. She thinks she must recover not only Phantom Butterfly, but everything, and she clenches her fist. Ariana leaves the bathroom and goes to the bedroom. She looks around and wonders if the Duke has not arrived yet. She also notices something like soup in Rosalind oil, and then sees the bed decorated with Rosalind's shaped like a heart. She scatters the Rosalinds and thinks that after the wedding, the first night comes, so she expected this night. She also thinks the Duke made this plan before, even if it was half-hearted. She believes that in 5 years, no one will matter because the Duke cannot keep a woman, and the scandal is already known, though she also thinks he can still kiss, and she's good at it. Suddenly, Dante's voice interrupts her, asking what she is thinking so deeply. She is shocked and asks when he arrived. He says he saw her lower her head like she felt guilty when he entered. She says she is sorry toward him, and he asks what she is sorry for. She explains that Elena disrupted the reception. He looks skeptical. Ariana then thinks he would not apologize like this, and she appreciates it, and she did not expect Elena to use the wedding as a stage and bring Adolf into it. Dante responds that it is all right. He lifts Ariana's chin with his hand and tells her that the most important part of a wedding is the first night. He smiles while saying this. He then tells her that she was very confident at the reception, but now she looks like prey about to be caught. He says this makes him curious and wonders what else he will see if he flusters her more. Then he brings his face closer and kisses her. While he kisses her, Ariana thinks that this is just part of her revenge. Adolf then carries her and leads her to the bed, and as they become close, she wonders why her heart is beating so fast. It's about to go down. Dante pauses, sits, and calls her name, Ariana Lopez. She thinks his name has been heard many times, so it should feel familiar, but now it feels strange. Dante then smiles and says she is now Ariana Heigenberg, and he kisses her again. While they kiss, she thinks about whether he can hear her heartbeat, and she feels that this marriage for revenge is becoming very hard to handle. Then Dante stands up and says he cannot continue, and is leaving because he cannot stay with someone whose mind is elsewhere. He also says that revenge is enjoyable and sweet, and he knows it is hard to resist. Ariana hears this and thinks about Dante Heigenberg, who rose in from being an illegitimate child, fought wars, defeated those who opposed him, and became a duke. She wonders how he felt at the top, if it was joy or emptiness. She then puts her hand on his face, and he calls her name. She moves closer and tells him she wants to know more about him. Enjoying this so far? Comment Ariana for the next part. Until next time, ciao.